All set.
Good morning, everyone, to this very abbreviated school committee meeting where we have a short agenda of school committee actions. First, we're going to be voting on approval of a contract with Miller Dyer Spears, architect for the Pierce School Building Project. Any discussion first before we vote on that?
Maybe I can just, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I
Susan.
was just going to ask how the building commission meeting went.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
So maybe I can frame it first and then we can go to the votes. Is that, I agree, we want to get to the votes
Yeah,
quick.
perfect. No, perfect.
So I was at the building commission. This has been somewhat of an extended negotiation. Tony was working very hard on our behalf along with the building commission members. Usually what happens with these contracts for all the schools, building commission is in charge of is fiscally responsible for the building coming in on time and on budget. I mean, we are too, but they are the ones who really take over once the contract with the once the construction begins, really. That's when their total role is, but it is even now. So every month they have the Pierce School on their agenda. I'd hoped we'd have these contracts for us to sign on last month, and it took some work. They were able to save some money for the town, both in Left Field's contract and in MDS's contract, and also get conditions that we want to make sure that we have in the contracts. Do you want me to make the motion?
Sure.
Actually, would you mind just?
I'll make a motion and then we can have conversation about each one as we
Great.
go. Does that make sense? Or do you want to ask a general question?
Why don't you move it first and then we can ask questions?
Okay, I'll move that we approve the contract with Miller Dyer Spears in the amount of the amendment to the contract in the amount of $17,267,439.
I'll second.
No, that's, can you restate that motion? I think that's the wrong amount.
No, so, okay. There is a previous amount. If you look at the contract.
No, it's not 400, it's not 439 cents. It's 12,267,439 with 0 cents.
Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you. That's why there's 9 of us, to make sure we.
So can I second that one?
Yes, please. Are there any questions about the contract? Yes, Andy.
I'll probably ask the same thing about all three, but just like, is there any major difference we should know about between this contract and the equivalent one for Driscoll?
I know they talked about at the building commission learning from the mistakes at Driscoll, more so in the design and in the other things that happened along the way, why, change order stuff. So we are having the same person, Andy Deshane, work on Pierce, who worked on Driscoll. He's made a list of all those issues, and we will be discussing them at the building commission or in the school building committee, probably more likely, to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes. And we may make other mistakes. There's always things that happen in a building project, as it happens in any home project, where there's something you forget, you find a condition you didn't know. But whatever we can do to avoid other issues, we will.
But there's nothing in the contracts themselves to sort of protect us against some of the things that we knew happened with Driscoll. It's more just the way we plan to
I think I know Tony was aware of it. He had a list of like 20 questions that he was able to change some wording in the contract. I don't have that available to me now, unfortunately, and Tony is not with us. But he's certainly aware of what's happened at Driscoll and would make sure that those things wouldn't happen here. It's also a different architect. So
yeah. My question is probably most applicable to the OPM contract, where it's actually the same firm.
Yeah. Okay. He did extend the date. I think I actually have some things that he did say to us. If you wait 1 second. I'm sorry. Should I here? I don't have it here. I've had it just before. I was looking at things. But basically, the date of completion, he moved out because we're starting later. But it's still September, but that they are required to work through August in terms of construction administration and things like that. So that was one piece through the middle of August, I think it is, that he made sure that we covered that time, because otherwise they asked for a contract amendment and, want more money. So this way we're covered on that. Yeah, Suzanne?
Yeah, Helen, Tony, I believe, is leaving. Is that correct?
That is correct. And
So I would just hope that, his suggestions are in writing. He will pass them on to whoever tries
it's
to.
not Tony. No, it's
Oh, it's a different.
from
oh.
left field, Andy DeShane, who is the person who's been on the job at Driscoll since the construction began.
Yeah,
And
but
has-
what about Tony for us on our side?
So yes, that's the other piece. I know Dan Bennett and Chaz and Linus are all working hard together to find a replacement. This has been a really hard piece, and hopefully they'll become very creative. The problem is they're not paying enough, and people can make much more in the private industry. So why come to Brookline? They're working on ways to not upset the apple cart, but be able to find a way to make it enticing for somebody in the private sector, because that's basically where we'll get somebody for the
Yeah,
most.
and I would just hope that all those lessons that Tony is aware of are passed on.
I have his cell number.
Well,
Stephen,
I
go
know.
ahead with your question.
I'm sorry?
Stephen's had his hand up a while.
That's okay. So a couple of specific questions and one general question. So Helen, can you review? I'm not clear on what this amendment covers with regards to geothermal. Could you review that?
Oh,
I
yeah.
see that there's a fee for a geothermal well design in the playground, but that's in the early bid package. I'm a little confused on what is included in this
So
amendment.
there's a question right now about whether we'll do an early bid package or not. There will be the design, and I'm pretty sure all of it is included. The design of the geothermal is, let me just open it up.
Okay, so just for my own clarity, this
Yeah.
early bid package is not part of this amendment.
The what?
The early bid package is not
No.
a scope that's part of this
No,
amendment.
no,
Okay.
one of the, so this was another discussion.
So
as
then what of the geothermal is in this amendment, if anything?
Everything is the early bid package. So the way they had wanted to do the project, and still may, depending on how they're going to come back to the building commission in August, they being left field and the designer, with pros and cons of doing an early bid package versus not doing an early bid package. The cost, and basically the cost differentials, and the ability to understand the project better for the design team. So the early bid package that they were proposing was to take down the building so they would know what's there and know what what they're dealing with. And that way, when you go out to bid for the full project, you end up, there's no unforeseen or less unforeseen conditions. If you bid the whole thing with the building there, they don't know we approved $5,000 at our last meeting to do some more exploration within the building for hazmats, for what's under the surface there, to know what they're building on. So those sorts of things, if you take down the building, then you know for sure what's there. you know.
Okay, and that's all being conducted by GEI?
GEI,
That's the GEI consultant work?
is it GEI? Isn't it Galuska GGD? No?
I can just review that myself to figure out exactly who's doing that. Okay,
Yeah,
and
I
the
think it may
second,
be, that may be a subcontractor, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
yeah, I think it's a sub.
It's a subcontractor. So what happens also in their contract, in MDS's contract, they have allowances within the contract, within this 17 million for consultants. And if they don't use, so for instance, in their last contract, the first contract, this is an amendment. In the first contract, they had allowances for some explorations and stuff. There was about $68,000 left in the feasibility study monies that they just approved to use for exploration at this point.
Okay,
So, I mean, that's what that's about.
okay, thanks, Helen. It looks like it is GEI. The other one, I just want to follow up on the previous line of questioning. This is just for my own clarity. I think everyone probably understands this better than me.
No, it's okay.
The mechanism for our continued financial oversight
Yes,
is expressed through Tony.
no,
He's, okay, can you review for me?
sure.
and-
What happens in these
foundational-
projects is, as I was saying before, the building commission is responsible for approving any bills, any change orders. They have one person, actually, we have two people assigned to this project, Janet Fearman, who is the chair, and Brooke Dustin, who's who's a new person. So she's training her more or less. So they are on top of it, along with the building commission. We also end up getting change orders. I don't know if you remember, you've approved
Sure.
change orders for Driscoll and stuff. So we also have that ability.
I'm looking more upstream than the change orders, though, for us to have a continued understanding of the
Oh, another piece,
of
okay.
the financial requirements.
So
and the
another
financial
piece that
changes.
will happen. So in most projects, you do, one estimate sort of midway and then another estimate, and then you get the actual cost. You put it out to bid, and then you know what the actual cost of the project is. In this project, because we're doing it with MSBA, they work with us every month. We have to submit, that's part of what Left Field has to do, submit reports to them, submit documents to them. They review this. They have their experts.
We submit to Left Field,
No, to Left Field submits to MSBA.
and where do those reports go? Like, where can we find those reports?
Oh, you can get them if you want them.
I
every month.
do. I would like to be, I wonder, Betsy, can we maintain a folder of those reports that are easily accessible to school committee? So we can review those reports easily as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're public documents. When they go to MSBA, they're public documents.
I wonder if we can keep them in our own folders as well,
Mhm.
so we can keep easy tabs on those reports.
Okay.
I mean, I understand, and I think I understand where you're going. I'm concerned about this project coming.
I'm
in
not
with
coming from a
budget.
place of concern. I just want to make sure that I understand how to, I'm new to
Yeah,
trying
no,
to
that's
exercise
fine. And that's
oversight.
why it's good that you're asking the questions.
Right,
it's
so I
great.
just want to know where the relevant documents
So,
are.
yeah, and
relevant
I would
mechanisms
suggest
are.
also that you go to a building commission meeting one time. It's the
Thanks,
second
Helen.
Tuesday of the month, every month. And that's where they really, I mean, they have there at the building commission, there's an architect, there's a developer, there's an engineer on the building commission, a lawyer, and a contractor.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks, Helen. I'll not hold up this meeting further.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's good to know the answers. I'm sure that, other people don't know either. If you haven't been directly involved with it, you can't know. And it's like a different world than what we work with most of the time.
Natalia?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I reviewed the documents, but because I'm so trying to catch up, I think I'll probably be abstaining on all three, not because I have any concerns, just because I have too little information to make a decision either way, but that doesn't matter for this group, right? I mean, an abstention is, okay, so just wanted to let you know why I'm doing that. I've read everything and then Helen, maybe I'll try and talk to you at some point to get caught up on, for me as a peers parent, a lot of parents are asking about timelines, these that have nothing to do with these amendments, but I'd like to understand all of that and this fear that it might go over. And I noticed the timeline because of that 48-month. If it goes over, then the whole concept of moving kids midway in order to start the new year at a new school is kind of moot. And, parents are very concerned about the transition. So I'd love to,
One of the things that I'm
meeting to
hoping is
talk
that,
about.
I mean, the reason the building commission is so wary of doing an early package and then getting the guaranteed maximum price after that for the full project is because of the experience at the high school, where there were 3 interim early packages. And I think it's a different, they're comparing apples and oranges, but they've been burnt. So they don't want it. We've never gone over on a project. And most times we come in on time. We might be, with our tongues out on Labor Day getting things together, but we do come in on time. So, but yeah, I hear your concern. I'm happy to sit down and talk with you and just walk you through how we do a project, what happens at the beginning, middle, and end. Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second on MDS for $17,267,439.
We do, yes. So Helen, your vote?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes,
Andy?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Natalia?
Abstain.
Nancy?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So that brings us to the next contract. So approval of a contract with Left Field Project Management, owner's project manager for the Pierce School Building Project. Helen, do you want to explain this one?
Yes, I'd be happy to. This is actually quite a reduction in their fee. They came in much higher originally and went down once to 7.1 million, and we were able to negotiate to $6,750,000. Basically, they are the owner's project manager manages the project between the contractor and the designer, and in this case also does a huge amount of work with MSBA. They require tons of paperwork about each project and meetings in terms of going over things, making sure that we're meeting their guidelines, etc. So that's what this contract is about. Andy, I know you have a question. No?
Oh, well, for this one, I remember there was some discussion at Building Commission about how this contract actually reflected also some of the work that's been done that, well, Jim Rogers was saying that there's been some unpaid work done over the past months while we were waiting for the outcome of the vote. So where is that actually reflected in the contract? Because I didn't actually see it.
It's just included. It's not.
Oh, it's
in
just
the
bundled
contract.
into the total fee that
It's-
we're.
Yes,
that we're paying.
yes, exactly. So we probably would have gone lower without that. But that we felt, I mean, the building commission also feels that if people work, they need to be paid for the work that they're
Yeah.
doing.
This was specifically about, I think, the just for the other members who might not have been at Building Commission, some the work that they did to provide sort of factual information when the town was considering the vote, and also there was the value engineering exercise that we undertook earlier.
It was the work from June 22 through December. That was the big lift there.
Yeah.
In
He did
terms of-
also just mention the the factual
Yes,
stuff that they were supplying in response to questions from the town.
Them and MDS for that matter.
Yeah.
Because the architect, that's what they need to tell us, to answer people's questions. Any other questions about the OPM? Just so, you know, for history, for people to know, Tony used to do all this work, this OPM. So for Ridley School, we didn't have an outside OPM. And, you know, it really, the amount of work that one person has to do, it's almost infeasible. I don't know how he did it at the time. And we saved the town a lot of money by not having an outside OPM. He was certified as an OPM and all. I think that we have not had a choice since then in terms of our projects having in-house OPMs. We haven't even been able to keep it. Tony, I mean, with Ray Masick, we've been looking for a replacement for his job for a year. And he was the one who did all the other projects, not the real big ones, but all the other ones. So, okay, I'll move the.
Okay, so Helen moves it. Do we have a second? Thank you, Andy. Helen, your vote?
Yes,
Suzanne?
Yes,
Andy?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Natalia?
Abstain.
Nancy?
yes,
And I also vote yes. So that brings us to our final contract approval, which is approval of a contract with Consigli Construction, contractor for the Pierce School Building Project. Back to you, Helen, if you want to introduce this
so
one.
let me explain this. This is for 300,000, obviously not the total cost of the project, is to bring us to the point where we can negotiate the guaranteed maximum, guaranteed GMP, guaranteed maximum price. I'm sorry, I always get that confused. They will work with us during the design phase. And that's where, actually at the building commission, if you remember, Andy, they talked about making sure that Consigli and MDS really work together to work out kinks, make sure that things are buildable. If there's a less expensive way to build, that they would be responsible through this contract amendment to be doing, to voice those issues and make sure that we address them.
So that's Consigli's job and not Left Field's
It's
job.
all
and things
three.
like that.
It's
I mean,
all
that came up
three.
with building commission, that some unconstructible elements were sort of left in the design until a late stage, and it's costing us money now to
Right. So we did have
Do that.
Gilbane there at the table with Levy, and they had worked together before. I don't know what happened. And I haven't been involved, you know, intimately with that project. So, but on this one, I mean, I do think that all eyes are on deck here to make sure that this is a simpler building that will be constructible and at a price efficient manner. Conscious manner.
Any questions? Seeing none, would someone like to move the Consigli contract?
I'll move it.
All right, I'll second. Helen, your vote?
Yes,
Suzanne?
yes,
Andy?
yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Natalia?
Abstain.
Nancy?
yes.
And I also vote yes. So thank you very much, Helen, for staying on top of all this. It's very complex. There's a lot to it. To you too, Andy. I know you're going to a lot of these building commission meetings. Also to you, Stephen, for your clarifying questions. It's very helpful for members of the public who will tune in so that they can follow along and understand what's taking place a bit better. That brings us to new business. Is there any new business? Seeing none, that concludes our meeting for today.
great.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I appreciate it.